So today we're going to learn about expressions and statements. Okay, so expressions are a combination of variables, operands, and operators that produce a value. Types, the types are we have integral, those are the integer operands. We have the floating point operands, mixed data types, conditional based on conditions, relational Boolean results, logical combining relational expressions, and pointer what address values. We have expressions that ends with a semicolon. Okay, those are the types of expressions. Then move on to what we call logical expressions are all types of expressions, and then expressions, comments. Now comments used to make what reading and understanding programs much more pleasant. Comments are helpful in skipping the execution of some parts of the code, and comments are used for easier debugging. Single line comment, you have multi-line comment. This is the type of multi-line comment. Then move on to indentation. Indentation makes code with ability and understanding much more pleasant. Each nested block should be properly indented and spaced with a tab space. All braces should start from a new line, then the code comes following the end braces from a new line. So indentation improves code readability, is especially in nested blocks, loose control structures. Okay, so we have an indentation continued. This is an example of an indentation which we are going to implement in a line of code. Then move on towards statements. Statements they are single line instructions that perform actions in the building blocks of C++ program. Okay, we have types of statements. We have selection statements, we have iterative statements, we have expression statements. So selection statements are used in decision making. Example, if and switch. Then you have iterative statements, which are used to express iteration of tasks. Example, for, while, and do while. Then we come to your expression statement. That statement is used to evaluate what expressions. Okay, so these are types of statements. These are the compound statements that are group what multiple statements together. They are blocks of code enclosed in what curly braces. This is an example of a compound statement. Then we have statement for decision making in C++. Those are the selection statements, the if condition statement, the if condition statement, else statement. We have the switch condition statement. Okay, this is a graphical presentation of the decision making statement in C++. The if else condition that indicates whether true or false in the switch. If we have the if else, we have the if else if, we have the nested if. Okay. Now I have the if statement, a mechanism for determining whether an action should be taken. Okay, so this is the syntax. If expression statement 1. So let's say include what using namespace standard int age is equal to 20, and if age is greater than 18, then see how student can vote. Okay, that is an example of an if statement. You have if statement using what indentation. So you include what you declare your variable as int age is equal to 20, and if age is greater than 18, then see how student can vote. Those are the if statements using indentation. The if statement can be used to choose between what two conditional statements. So the if expression statement 1 and the else statement is what statement 2. So let's say int age is 12. If age is 12, if age is what greater than if age is greater than 12, see how student is old. Else see how student is what young. Okay. Then we have the nested if statement. It can be used to choose between conditional statements with nested conditions. Okay. So the syntax for the if statement in the nested ifs. If expression statement. So using an indentation, if n is greater than 0, if n%2 is equal to 1, see a positive what odd number, else positive even number. Those are the nested if. Okay. It's another nested if statement using what code block, which are going to introduce in a line of code. So this allows you to choose between what multiple alternatives. Compare the value of one expression with multiple conditions and constant. Expression in switch statement must be an integral type, that's integer character boolean. Now move on to what the constant. The constant must be different. The constant must be different and can only be integral what types. Okay, this is an example of a switch statement. Also an example for switch statement. Also an example of switch statement, which we are going to introduce in a line of code. So move on to a break statement. Break statement. Okay. Break statement exits from a switch or loop immediately. Break keyword can be used to jump to the first statement that follows a switch or a loop. Okay, so this is an example of a break statement. Student can vote break. So default cout student can vote break. So we continue with the continuous statement. The continuous statement continues with execution after a condition is accomplished. It is used in loops, has the opposite effect to break. That is, the next loop is begun immediately. Okay, so this is an example of continuous statement. Move on to operators. These are the plus, minus, what question mark sign, the slash, the greater than sign, then the left and right side. Okay, so we have arithmetic operators, we have assign operators, we have conditional operators, we have relational operators, logical operators also. This is an example of arithmetic operators. Then move on to logical operators. They are used to express logic, return what a bool result. Uses the end, the slash, and the exclamation operators. That's the syntax expression operator variable. Yeah, we looked at the logical operators, but that's with the end. We have the logical operators with the or. So the symbol for or in C++ is the slash, then not is the exclamation. So we have conditional operators. The conditional operator is used to form an expression that produces either of two values, depending on the value of some condition. So that's the syntax, expression one, expression two. We have conditional operators, which is indicated here, an example code, the conditional operators versus if statement. So this is a line of code with if statement. So okay, then we'll move on to increment operators. It is used to express increment in the value. Can be used as a prefix or postfix operator. Uses what? The plus plus operator. So in the syntax operator variable, the example for the prefix increment, use a plus plus x. So it increases the value of what? X. Then the postfix increment is the xxx plus plus. Sorry, the x plus plus. To increment operators. So you see out here, we have switch age. So the case age, you know, see how student can vote. Break, if what student can vote in any break. Now decrement, so to increase something, add, to a decrease something, you subtract, as the same thing goes here. Now I move on to the operator precedence. An operation inside of what? Bracket. I evaluated first, or the asterisk to show the slash, and the percent. At the same level of precedence, and I evaluated next, plus, and have the same level of precedence, and I evaluated last. When operators are on the same level, performed from the left to right. Okay, so we are going to create what? All this in a line of what? Code. So we get onto our text editor, then remove all this, start with our line of code. So we are going to start with what? Expression. So an example of an expression. So let's say int, sorry, let's say int a equals, let's say 3. Okay, float, sorry, okay, let's say int a equals 2. Okay, float b equals, let's say 3. Okay, let's say 3.6. Okay, then you see cout next, what? Expression. Next expression result. Next expression result. Okay, then we add a plus b, then we end line. Okay, Okay, so we run the code. Okay, so there is a so this can have our operation. So what seems to be the problem? Is the child the problem? Okay, so we are going to rewrite this to a line of code. So we are going to write code with mixed expression what results. This expression results. So sorry, let's say A plus B and end the line. So we run our code. And this is for mixed what expressions. So mixed expression. So when we added what A plus B added 5.6. This is an example line of code for what mixed expressions. Now we move on to comment example. Okay, let's say we want to write a comment on this. We can say, let's say we want to write a single line comment. We can say this is a single line comment. Okay, this is a type of what comments. Then we can also create another comment with the multi-line. So let's say so this is what multi-line comment. Okay, this is what we call multi-line comment. So this term is going to ignore this line of comment. Okay. Now we are going to move on to what we call indentation. Okay. So let's say int A equals, let's say 7, B equals, let's say 11. Okay, let's end this line of code. Then let's say if A is greater than B, okay, if A is greater than B, we see out what? See out A is greater than, okay, we end what? Line for the code. Okay, else C out E is greater than. Enter code. So you are seeing output B is what? Greater than. Alright, let's move on to selection statement, if else. Okay, so let's say int age equals, let's say 12. Let's say 12. So let's say if age is, let's say, greater than 17. Okay, if it is greater than 17, C out C out, let's say you can enter. Okay, can enter. So C out, let's say you can enter. There we go, the line of code. Then let's see else. Don't want this statement to be ignored. See how you can enter. Else C out, you cannot print online code. And there you have it. You cannot enter. Age is not greater than 17. So we want to switch what statement? Switch statement. Now let's say the switch statement. Let's say int age. Let's say int age equal to 13. Okay. Switch age. Switch age. Okay, switch age. Let's say case. Let's say case 18. cout, let's see, cout can vote. Cout can vote. One. Then we break. So let's say break. Let's say default. Let's say cout cannot vote. Then we end line. Then we break. Then we run our code. Okay, so just again, sorry, on this part. Okay, now let us run our code. So this is an example of a switch and a break statement. Now let us look at continuous statement. So let's say for int, okay, sorry, let's say for int, I, let's see, equals 1. Okay, then I is, sorry, I is less than equal to, let's see, 6, and that line comment. Then we increase I. Do what we increase I. Increase I. Sorry for the short delay. So we open the bracket. So state if I equals 3, okay, y equals 3, break. Now cout okay. Now let us run code. An example of a continuous statement. That's 1 and 2. Then move on to, let's say, move on to the GPU calculator task. which we have already done, and the desk calculator, which we have already done. Thank you very much.